His name is Himanshu Jangra, 23 years old, web developer at Starvik Design, Gurugram. He went to a Pranit More show. During crowd work, he told the audience he had spent rupees 370 on biryani for a woman and that he was going to recover this money from her. But that is not the full story. He also described pressuring her to come with him to a dark, isolated park after she said no. After she said no multiple times. Pranit More, comedian, 2 million YouTube subscribers, Big Boss 19 second runner up, called it peak Gurgaon content. The crowd erupted. Himanshu has since been fired. Pranit has since apologized. The internet has since moved on. But I haven't. But because what that room revealed that night is not a Gurgaon story. It is not a 23-year-old story. It's a story about a belief system that this entire culture is running on and has been running on for a very long time. Let me start with the most important detail in this entire story, the one that keeps getting buried. When Starvik Design ran their internal review after firing Himanshu, they spoke to his colleagues, including women who worked directly with him every day. Not one complaint, not one red flag, not a single incident. He was described as professional, respectful, hardworking, and well behaved. This is the thing that should make you go completely still. This is not a story about a monster you can identify and remove. This is a story about a man who was perfectly decent in every context where decency was socially rewarded and revealed his true operating system the moment he was in a context where cruelty was rewarded with laughter. His colleagues were not his audience, the laughing crowd was, and he performed accordingly. This is what grey misogyny looks like from the inside. It is invisible in performance reviews. It is invisible in one on one interactions. It surfaces when there is a crowd, when other men are watching, when the social incentive for dominance is higher than the cost. The woman who worked beside him every day was safe. The woman at the restaurant who said no was not. And the distance between those two versions of the same man is not reassuring. It is the most frightening thing in this story. Now, let me name what was operating in that room that night precisely, because naming is the first act of dismantling transactional masculinity. The conditioned belief instilled over years, running below conscious awareness, that a man's financial investment in a woman purchases access to her body. Money is not care, it is a down payment, and like any investment, it is expected to yield return. This is why when men talk about their exes, the primary grievance is almost always financial. Not I miss her, not I lost something real. It is she made me spend money, not heartbreak, a failed purchase, a transaction that did not complete. That language used without thinking is the most honest window to the framework that was operating the entire time. Instrumental giving. Giving not from a genuine care but from expectation of return. The dinner is not kindness, it is a contract written unilaterally, never disclosed, never agreed to by the woman sitting across the table. She thinks she is having a meal. He is building a case. And the implied consent fallacy, the belief that circumstance replace consent, that a date means a yes, that dinner means yes, that going somewhere alone means yes, that a dark park at night means yes, that 20 years of marriage means permanent yes. It does not. Consent is not a context. It is not implied by any set of circumstances. It is spoken, given freely, every single time without pressure, without an audience, without rupees 370 of leverage attached to it. This woman ate biryani. She said no. He pushed anyway. Her no in this operating system was not a boundary, it was a negotiating position, an obstacle, and a room full of people laughed at that. That laugh is not harmless. That laugh is the infrastructure of rape culture. Now, I want to talk about Pranit More, not just as the comedian who laughed, but as a man with his own documented pattern this incident sits inside. On Big Boss 19, Malti Chahar, actress filmmaker Deepak Chahar's sister, was one of his closest friends in the house. Privately warm, genuinely caring, visibly close, and publicly on his weekly roast show, performed in front of the group or the watching audience, he made her the target. Again and again, roasted her, refused to back her in arguments, use their private closeness as raw material for his performance. She told him to stop. He kept going. Salman Khan had to intervene on national television and tell him personal boundaries, no below the belt comments. She walked out of that house on the day of her eviction without saying goodbye to him, refusing to forgive him. Her own words. I didn't like it because I considered him a friend. He also considered me a friend. This is social performance masculinity. The need in a public or male adjacent context to perform dominance over a woman you privately like and respect because that performance earns social currency with the watching men. Being too close to a woman, too protective of her, unwilling to use her as material, that reads as weakness in a room full of men. So you perform detachment. You make her the punchline. You use the trust placed in you and you spend it in front of the audience that will reward you for it. The woman is never the audience. The other men are always the audience. Pranit More was reportedly seen crying in the bathroom after Malti's eviction. He clearly cared. He clearly felt the loss the moment she was gone, and he still used her repeatedly, publicly for the crowd. Both things were simultaneously true, and he saw no contradiction between them. That is not individual moral failure in isolation. That is a perfectly socialized man doing exactly what he was taught to do in exactly the context he was taught to do it in. His apology for the biryani incident, however sincere, does not close this account because the biryani incident and the Malti pattern are not separate events. They are two outputs of the same operating system. An apology addresses the output. The operating system underneath remains untouched. Too many men are socialized to give as an act of acquisition. The giving is a move, a strategy, a down payment, and this creates a devastating asymmetry where two people in same relationship are speaking entirely different languages. She is building something, he is buying something, and nobody told either of them clearly enough. And I need to say one uncomfortable thing about the collective outrage at Himanshu Jangra. We are performing condemnation of a 23-year-old as if he arrived fully formed. He did not. He was built by dinner tables where these jokes landed and nobody challenged them, by peer groups that validated, and by decades of cinema where heroes' relentless spending is coded as love. Himanshu is being punished by a culture that handed him an operating system and never once asked him to examine it. I am from Punjab. I have seen a Himanshu Jangra at every family gathering, every college campus, every office party I have ever attended. Peak Gurgaon content was a deflection. This man has no pin code. He has a gender and we made him. I am Shweta Meni, a gold medalist psychologist and founder of The Talking Cure. If you are a parent, this is where it starts and where it must end. Examine what you are modeling. Examine what gets laughed at your dinner table. Teach your sons that spending is not owning, that no means no and not try hard, that friendship with a woman is not a you wear privately and remove when other men are watching. Teach your daughters that receiving kindness creates no debt, that the guilt they sometimes feel, that unnamed sense that they owe something to someone who spent on them, was instilled in them by the same system that instilled the entitlement in him. It is not theirs to carry. The system that made Himanshu Jangra is not in Gurgaon. It is in your home and it is yours to dismantle. You know where to find me. Come, let's talk.